The subway station was overflowing with bodies, a restless tide of strangers waiting for the next departure Tuesday. An ordinary day. 1:23 in the afternoon, a 6-car train slid from the platform, steel wheels grinding softly as it disappeared into the black tunnel. No passenger could imagine that the coming hour would turn into a living nightmare. The doors of the front car opened and 4 men stepped inside. Black suits, white shirts, dark ties, wide-brimmed hats. As if carved from the same shadow, their faces expressionless, eyes sharp and cold in their hands, sleek rifles fitted with suppressors. The leader, the one who would later be called Mr. Black, raised a hand, his voice echoing over the rattle of the tracks. "Attention everyone, this is a takeover. From this moment you belong to us. No heroics. You'll live exactly as long as you obey." The car sank into silence, broken only by the sudden cry of a child. A mother clasped her hand over his mouth, trembling as she tried to hush him. Passengers pressed themselves against the seats, stiff, frozen, afraid to breathe. 2 of the gunmen moved swiftly down the line, stalking through the cars, brandishing their weapons to keep order. Another cut the connection to the driver's cabin, severing the last link to the outside world. Now the entire train had but one master, Mr. Black. He pulled a radio from his coat, spoke calmly into the static. "Police Lieutenant, whoever's on duty today, listen carefully. You have exactly 1 hour. $1 million in ransom. If at 2:23 sharp the money isn't delivered into this tunnel, the first hostage dies. And believe me, we don't bluff." The words dropped like a death sentence, chilling the air. Above ground, the alarm had already reached. The police traffic through the tunnels was halted. The system locked down. Negotiations were handed to Lieutenant Richards, a seasoned officer who understood the weight of every minute, every second, knowing each tick of the clock might cost a life. And yet a single thought gnawed at the back of his mind. How in God's name do these men plan to escape a tunnel already crawling with police? Police cars screeched to a halt at the subway entrance, sirens wailing into the humid afternoon air. Special forces took positions, rifles trained on shadows, while snipers fixed their scopes into the black mouth of the tunnel. But in that darkness their power was almost useless. At the hastily erected command post by the station, tension simmered, voices clashing in sharp bursts of panic and calculation. Lieutenant Richards, tall, broad-shouldered, a face hardened by years of service, gripped the radio in his hand. His tone was steady, but inside he felt the crushing weight of a clock already running too fast. "This is Lieutenant Richards. I'll be conducting negotiations. Mr. Black, let's start with the basics. How many hostages do you have, and what's their condition?" A pause, thin and cutting, then the voice returned, calm as ice. "We hold more than 30 passengers. Children, adults, even a few elderly. They're alive and they'll stay alive if you meet our demands." Richards drew in a slow breath. He needed time. Every second stretched into currency. 1 million in cash within an hour. Almost impossible, but the deeper terror was something else. He still couldn't see how these men intended to escape a tunnel already sealed at every exit. "Listen," Richards began, steady but firm. "Let's be realistic. The city can't assemble that kind of sum in 1 hour. Give us more time. Otherwise, you risk ruining your whole plan." Laughter crackled through the radio, short, dry, utterly devoid of warmth. "You still don't get it, Lieutenant. We risk nothing. It's you who gamble. Your people sit under our guns. You now have 55 minutes. I'm waiting." And then, a sound that stabbed Richards straight in the chest inside the train. A hostage, a young man, barely 20, made a sudden movement, fumbling for his phone. The gunman beside him swung hard, the butt of his rifle crashing against the boy's skull. He dropped to the floor, blood spilling across the tiles, screams tearing through the car. Mr. Black took the radio again. That was just a warning. Next time, someone won't get back up. In the command post, silence spread like frost. Every officer felt it. The gang wasn't bluffing, and Richards knew it with dreadful clarity. His knuckles whitened as he pressed the radio to his mouth. "Fine, you'll get your money. But I need guarantees." Mr. Black's answer came instantly, cold and precise. "The guarantee is simple. Every 10 minutes that I wait, one hostage is injured. And if the money doesn't arrive on time, they all die." The radio hissed into a long, merciless silence. Then that same voice cut through the static, sharp as a blade. "The clock is ticking." A suffocating silence clung to the carriage. People sat pressed against one another, too afraid even to raise their eyes toward the men with guns. Only the heavy rhythm of breathing, muffled sobs, and the hollow echo of train wheels against motionless tracks filled the darkness of the tunnel. By the door lay the wounded boy. His chest still rose and fell, shallow, ragged, blood spreading across the floor like ink. A middle-aged woman, a nurse as it turned out, whispered for permission to help him. One of the gunmen, the one known as Mr. Gray, gave a curt nod, but his warning was colder than the steel in his hands. "One wrong move and you both die." Mr. Black paced slowly between the rows, his steps deliberate, gaze sweeping across every terrified face. People lowered their eyes instantly, shrinking under the weight of his silence. His voice was quiet, yet it carried through the car like a blade. "Remember this. You're alive only because the police still believe you can be saved. The moment they make a mistake, you become worthless." Back in the command post, Lieutenant Richards weighed every word spoken over the radio. Years of negotiating had taught him a truth. Even the coldest men had cracks in their armor. He only had to find where to push. "Listen, Mr. Black," Richards spoke, steady and deliberate. "You want money. But we both know there's no way out of that tunnel. Every exit is sealed. Even if I hand you a suitcase with $1 million in cash, what then?" A pause hung in the static longer than Richards expected. Finally, the voice returned. "That's our problem. Your problem is getting the money." Short, clipped, but not as firm as before. Richards caught it. The slightest hesitation. They did have a plan, and he needed to unravel it before they set it in motion. Inside the carriage, a young mother held her daughter close. The girl, no more than 6, buried her face against her mother's chest. The woman whispered, fragile, trembling, "It's going to be all right, sweetheart. We'll get out of this, I promise." But even she didn't believe her own words. Mr. Black raised his hand, eyes flicking to his watch. 10 minutes are up. Time to show, business." He drew a pistol, aimed it at a random passenger, and pulled the trigger. The gunshot thundered through the sealed car, screams erupting in a wave of terror. A man collapsed onto the floor, lifeless. Mr. Black pressed the radio to his lips, his voice calm, unshaken. "The next one in 10 minutes. In the command post, silence swallowed the room. Richards clenched his fists so hard the bones pressed white against his skin. Now he understood. He had even less time than he thought. The command post roared like a hive torn open. Police officers, city officials, administrators, everyone shouting at once, clashing over the impossible demand. Could $1 million in cash even be gathered in so little time? Some argued to stall, to stretch negotiations. Others barked to give the criminals what they wanted before more blood was spilled. Lieutenant Richards cut through the noise like a blade. "They've already killed one hostage. If we don't show we're ready to act, they'll keep pulling the trigger every 10 minutes. Start gathering the money. I'll try to buy us more time." He snatched up the radio, voice steady, measured. "Mr. Black, listen. We're working to meet your demand. But I need something from you in return. Release at least the woman and her child. Show me you're not a madman but a professional. Someone we can reason with." The train fell into silence. The gunman exchanged glances. Mr. Blue, younger, impatient, his nerves raw, muttered sharply, "That's a mistake. We don't hand anyone over." But Mr. Black raised his hand. Silencing him, his reply came even, emotionless. "Lieutenant, I'm no fool. I know what you're after. If I release hostages, you'll twist it against me. No one leaves. The ransom, that's the only guarantee you get." He checked his watch, then added with calm finality, "You now have 40 minutes. At the command post, couriers from the Armored Transport Service moved fast, stuffing stacks of bills into a black briefcase, but Richard's eyes weren't on the money. He was bent over the metro blueprints laid out by engineers across the table. "The tunnel's blocked here and here," one of the technicians pointed with a pen. "The only exits are through the stations, and every single one is already locked down. Escape is impossible." Richards furrowed his brow. Impossible. And yet, the gang carried themselves with too much certainty. They knew something he didn't. He lifted the radio again, voice edged with curiosity. "Tell me, Mr. Black, why chase a million when you have no escape route?" Inside the carriage, for the first time, Mr. Black smiled. His voice flowed back through the static, rich with something dangerously close to pleasure. "Lieutenant, I did my homework better than you. You think we're the ones trapped. But the truth is, the trap is for you." The hostages shuddered at the sound, fear crawling up their spines, and in the command post, silence spread. They were left utterly in the dark. The clock moved on. Relentless 35 minutes remained. The carriage hung in suffocating silence. Hostages hardly dared to breathe. Afraid even of the sound of their own lungs, Mr. Black sat calmly by the driver's cabin. His posture relaxed, face unreadable, as if he were nothing more than a man waiting for his train to arrive, and it was that calmness, more than the weapons, that chilled everyone to the bone. Lieutenant Richards pressed on, refusing to yield. "You can play games with me all you like, but I know this much. There's no way out of that tunnel. Your only option is surrender. Otherwise, you and your men go down with the hostages." The radio crackled. A sharp metallic click, then Mr. Black's voice came, lighter now, almost amused. "Lieutenant, want to see a trick? Listen closely." He barked an order to his men. Mr. Gray and Mr. Blue moved swiftly toward the rear car. For a moment, silence, then it came. The grinding echo of metal reverberating through the tunnel, the unmistakable groan of a heavy door forcing itself open. In the command post, every head snapped up. Richards bent over the metro map, voice thunderous. "What the hell was that? Tell me, are there technical exits in the tunnel?" The engineers exchanged uneasy looks. Finally, an older man wiped sweat from his brow, his voice tight. "There are old emergency shafts. Some were sealed years ago. But if they knew about them ahead of time..." The radio hissed alive again, Mr. Black's words curling like smoke. "You see now, Lieutenant? We have doors you don't know about. And every minute that passes, those doors swing wider for us." A chill ran down Richard's spine. They had prepared too well. To sharpen the point, Mr. Black gave a new command. 2 hostages, a man and a woman, were dragged into the center of the car, trembling under the gaze of gun barrels. "The next bullet is for them if you don't hurry with the money. You've got 25 minutes left." He leaned down, whispering coldly into their ears. "Thank the police for the extra minutes you're still breathing." Chaos erupted in the command post. Helicopters thundered into the air. Special forces readied breaching gear. But Richards knew One reckless move, and the tunnel would drown in blood. He pressed both hands to his head. The weight of the moment crushing in time was slipping like sand through clenched fists. And one question burned hotter with every second: how many more surprises had these men prepared? 35 minutes had passed since the takeover began. Less than half an hour remained before the deadline. In the command post, the tension was a lit fuse. The ransom was ready. A black briefcase stuffed with stacks of $100 bills, waiting in the back of an armored truck, but the question was poison: how to deliver it into the tunnel without sparking a massacre. Lieutenant Richards clashed with his superiors, his voice tight, urgent. If we just drive the truck in, they'll know it's a trap. They want a courier, someone they'll trust. What if we send an unarmed officer? Someone suggested. They'll shoot him on sight. Richards cut back. We need another idea. Inside the stalled train, the air thickened with dread. Hostages sat like pale ghosts, eyes fixed on the floor, terrified to meet the gaze of their captors. The wounded boy still breathed, but weaker now. The nurse pressed her trembling hands against the wound, fighting to keep him alive, though she knew, without a hospital, his time was measured in minutes. And then, a shift one hostage, a wiry man in a business suit, early 40s. Slowly lifted his head. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned with resolve. He leaned to the passenger beside him, whispering hoarsely, "If we don't act, they'll kill us all anyway." With a subtle motion, he unfastened his jacket. A glint of metal flashed beneath. A badge from a private security service. He wasn't just a passenger, he had training, experience. The hostages near him stiffened, realizing his intent, but before anyone could stop him, it was already too late. He lunged, hurling himself at the nearest gunman, Mr. Blue. The crack of gunfire tore through the carriage. One shot, then another. Screams filled the car as people dove to the floor. Mr. Blue staggered, a bullet grazing his arm, his weapon clattering away, but in the same instant, Mr. Gray swung hard, the butt of his rifle slamming into the man's skull. The brave hostage collapsed, limp. Mr. Black didn't even flinch. He simply raised his pistol, fired twice, finishing the job without hesitation. Silence returned, heavy and absolute. Only the echo of shots lingered, rolling down the dark tunnel. Mr. Black lifted the radio, his tone glacial. "Lieutenant, deliver a message to your people. One more stunt like that, and I start with the children. You have 20 minutes left." At the command post, the room froze into wordless dread. Richard's gut clenched. The chance for improvisation from within was gone. The only hope now was to unravel the gang's plan before they put it into motion. And the clock, merciless as ever, kept ticking down. 14:05, less than 20 minutes remained. The command post reached its verdict. The ransom had to be delivered, otherwise, the tunnel would drown in blood. An armored van rolled up to the mouth of the tunnel. Inside, the black briefcase packed with money, and a police officer behind the wheel. Stripped of his weapon, his heartbeat pounded so loud it rattled through the microphone of the hidden transmitter. "Remember," Richard spoke calmly into his earpiece, "the key is composure. They have to take the money and feel safe. Don't provoke them." Inside the stalled train, the gang waited. Mr. Black sat perfectly still, eyes flicking to his watch. "Lieutenant, where's my million?" His voice crackled over the radio. "The vehicle's at the tunnel now," Richards replied. "You'll have the money in minutes. But I'm asking you, once it's delivered, release someone. Anyone." Mr. Black let a slow smile crease his face, glancing at the terrified hostages around him. "We'll see." Moments later, headlights cut through the dark. The van rolled cautiously down the tunnel. Stopping near the silent train, the command post fell into absolute stillness. Mr. Gray stepped out from cover, rifle raised, Every movement sharp, he lifted his hand, signaling the driver to stop. The officer opened the door, trembling as he lifted the black briefcase and set it carefully on the tracks. "Back to the van," Gray ordered, voice like stone. The driver obeyed, retreating, easing the van back a few meters. Only then did the gunman scoop up the case and carry it inside the train. Mr. Black snapped open the locks. Rifling through the stacks of bills, a glint of satisfaction lit his eyes. "Good. You've done your part, Lieutenant. Now it's our turn." He raised the radio, paused, then spoke slowly. "In 5 minutes we'll begin our exit. But not the way you think." At that moment, a deep rumble shook the carriage. The metal floor at the rear of the train shifted, grinding open to reveal a concealed hatch. A draft of cold air surged upward from below. Gasps erupted from the hostages. It was one of the old emergency shafts, exactly as the engineers had feared, but this one had been prepared, waiting. Mr. Black stared directly into the surveillance camera, certain the police were watching. "You see now, Lieutenant? We were never going to use your exits." And then, with the faintest smile, he added, "As for the hostages, we're not finished with them yet." The command post erupted into chaos. Richards felt the crushing realization. They were about to vanish right under the police's nose, with both the money and the hostages. And there were only minutes left on the clock. 14:23 minutes to deadline. The command post was chaos. Police scrambled over maps. Engineers rifled through yellowed blueprints, but nothing gave them certainty. They could come out through the service tunnels beneath the city. One muttered, "From there, dozens of exits. Sewers, drains. We'll never intercept them all." Richards clenched his jaw. There was no time left for theories. Inside the carriage, Mr. Black and his crew prepared to descend. Mr. Gray lowered a rope ladder into the shaft, metal scraping as it unfurled into the dark. Mr. Blue, wounded arm stiff, clutched his rifle with white knuckles. The hostages stared in horror, some praying, others trembling, too afraid to weep. Mr. Black raised the radio, his voice like stone. "Lieutenant, time is up. We're leaving. And if anyone tries to stop us, the hostages die first." He turned to his men, snapping an order. "Take 2. They're coming with us. The rest stay here." Panic erupted. The little girl screamed as her mother tried to hold her back, but Mr. Gray wrenched them toward the open hatch. That was the breaking point. Richards slammed the button on his radio, voice a bark of steel. "Go! Breach!" The tunnel exploded and light flashbangs ripped the dark apart. Deafening blasts. White fury gunfire thundered as special forces stormed the train from both ends. Chaos swallowed the carriage. Hostages dropped flat, hands over their heads as bullets tore the air above them. Mr. Blue went down first. Chest struck clean. Mr. Gray fired back, catching a commando in the vest, but the return volley cut him down in seconds. Mr. Black still moved with brutal precision, one arm locked around the screaming girl, holding her as a shield, his pistol raised toward the advancing shadows. "Back!" he roared. "One more step and she dies." Through the surveillance feed, Richard saw everything. His heart twisted, but his voice failed him, and then, a single crack. The snipe's shot, sharp and final. Mr. Black jerked, the bullet punching through his shoulder. The child tore free, stumbling to the floor in that same heartbeat. The assault team unleashed a storm of fire. Mr. Black toppled backward into the shaft, vanishing into the dark labyrinth below. When the smoke cleared, hostages were let out one by one, children crying, voices breaking with thanks, though terror still burned in their eyes. Richard stood at the tunnel mouth, staring into the void where the man had fallen. No body, only a smear of blood, trailing deeper into the maze of shafts. He gripped his radio, whispering low, "This isn't over. He'll be back." And from the depths of the tunnel, silence pressed in once more, heavy and absolute.